Well, I've been down to Taree.
Yeah.
There's a family who've been caught in the floods. Their landlords have said they want rent from them, but they haven't got an opportunity to pay. Their furniture's wrecked. All their white goods are gone.
After disasters, financial hardship can be a really big issue where you've lost your house or you've lost a job or you've lost everything that's burnt down or washed away, and you're unable to meet your regular financial commitments, but you're also just unable to pick up the phone, you're unable to navigate paperwork, you're unable to have that level of functioning that you would otherwise need.
Clients rarely identify that they have financial hardship issues when they come to see us at recovery centres. It's often not at the forefront of their mind as a legal problem or as their most important legal problem that day. And that's where we actually are the problem spotters. And it's our role to talk to clients, find out what's going on for them, not just about the insurance or the housing issue that they may have come to see us about today, but to get the whole picture to understand if they are in financial hardship. Clients might only attend a recovery centre once and might never get legal advice again. So that's the moment, and that's why it's really important to delve a little bit deeper at that first consultation.
Fabulous. Do you have any other credit cards or personal loans or anything like that?
There's a personal loan.
Because you actually have a right to put your repayments for that on hold for a little bit while you're getting back on your feet and sorting out all this really hard stuff that you've got to sort out. That's not early intervention is really important and can be really effective in resolving legal issues. I've had clients before who've lost their jobs and their homes and had a car loan and just ignored it, just couldn't pay it. And so rather than asking us at the start, where we could have helped get the repayment holiday and all the legal obligations that are on the lenders to do with financial hardship, the poor guy just couldn't face it until he got a statement of claim from court. And at that stage, our options are a bit more limited about the sorts of help we can provide. But thankfully, when he got the statement of claim, he did come to see us and we were able to help him with that, and the debt was put on hold at that stage, and he was given some time at that stage to be able to deal with it. But if he'd waited until there was a default judgment or until the bankruptcy or until the sheriff had come to the door to get the car and whatever else was there to cover the shortfall, the longer you wait, the worse it gets.
As we all know, through early intervention, if we can get in early and deal with these problems early, the clients are always going to get a better result. So if your client is having trouble meeting their financial obligations under a credit contract, then of course that's when we need to give them legal advice about their legal rights under the National Credit Code. After a disaster, they have the right to ask their credit provider for a break, a variation, and even in some cases, depending on the circumstances, a waiver of the debt. Most credit providers have compassionate policies, and they will agree to make a flexible arrangement for a client who following a disaster. And disasters are accepted to be a reasonable cause for hardship. And most credit providers, in our experience, are quite generous and will adhere to their obligations under the code. It's also important, I think, to be alert when you're with a client about all the other benefits or policies that credit providers might have following a disaster. So for example, after the recent floods, some of the major banks had actual disaster payments of up to $3,000 for existing clients. So it's probably worth just Googling while you've got a client with you who their credit provider is and what might be available to them on top of their rights under the code. So if you have a client who wants to seek a variation under the code, there is a couple of ways you can do that. You may pick up the phone to the bank on the spot when you've got the client with you. The client can give you the details and verify who they are, and that might be a really quick and simple way to deal with it on the spot and just give the client that peace of mind so they can move on and deal with the myriad of other issues they're dealing with following a disaster. If that's not possible, you can refer the client to a financial counsellor. At the moment, the Disaster Response Legal Service is very lucky to have Sharon Weston in our team. If we don't have Sharon in the team going forward, there is often a financial counsellor in the recovery centre, and you can go and find them and take the client with you and do a warm referral. Or alternatively, as Sharon will say at the end of this segment, she gives you a link of how to find a local financial counsellor in the area. There's also the National Debt Hotline that has a lot of information and really useful fact sheets on this particular topic. The third way to make an application for a variation, if the matter is legally complex or if the credit provider is threatening any kind of legal action or repossession, or if the matter has some complexities, for example, around responsible lending, that sort of thing, we might decide to keep the matter in-house and deal with it in that way, but still use the services of a financial counsellor to help us with things like the statement of financial position. After a disaster, people are still suffering from great grief and trauma, and then suddenly might be faced with having to make decisions around how to spend large sums of money that have been deposited into their bank account. They might have received a lump sum payout from their insurer. They might have received money from the government grants that are available. They might have received some money from Centrelink. These decisions are really difficult at the best of times, but when our clients are suffering from so much trauma, it's difficult, really difficult for our clients. And sometimes they may be tempted to feel they should use these sums of money to pay off all their debts rather than to pay their living expenses from day to day. And that's where the services of a financial counsellor are just invaluable. And that's a great segue into the next section of this training, which is the wonderful Sharon Weston, a financial counsellor, who can talk to you about the many things that they can do to help our clients following a disaster.
And my name's Sharon Weston. I'm a financial counsellor with the Disaster Response Legal Service. My role is to talk to people about the sort of things that might help them with their financial recovery. A financial counsellor will meet with people to discuss their finances, usually because they've got a financial problem. So we'll look at everything that's going on in their lives, and not just the financial stuff, but all the emotional stuff, the fears, the anxieties, their hopes and their dreams, and look at how can we work on the problems that they've got to try to help people to move through those problems and come out the other side. Anyone can be affected by financial hardship. Sometimes it's people who might be earning good money, but they hadn't planned on a disaster happening. Maybe they didn't have insurance, maybe they had a lot of credit card debt, and when they stopped earning money, they weren't able to meet their commitments anymore. Or there might be people who have just got out of jail, don't know where to begin. They've got bad credit ratings. Maybe they've been bankrupt and they don't know how to start again. Or they're people with so much debt that they're considering bankruptcy. And they want to know what the implications are for them, and what it means long term. Sometimes they're people who've incurred a lot of fines and they can't pay them. Sometimes it's people who've just got a lot of financial commitments that they can't meet. I often meet a lot of people who've just been in a relationship that's broken up, and then because your finances change and you're managing on your own, you just can't meet those commitments anymore. If someone's in a disaster, they're going to have a whole range of financial problems. The immediate problems that might mean, how can I pay my rent? Where am I going to live? What am I going to eat? And my kids aren't going to school anymore, all those sorts of things. But then we also might find that by talking to them about other problems that may have already existed in their lives, like credit card debt, unemployment, how is that impacting on them, and how can we find ways to maybe help them with those issues that are going to make it easier for them to get through this disaster. Sometimes people come looking for help because they've got one particular problem. They may have just lost their home. They may have a friend who's lost their home. And they might not realise that there's other help that's available. Sometimes there's a phenomena of survival guilt. I might still have my home, or I might still have my shed that I can live in. These other people are worse off than me, so I'm not going to ask for help. There might be a perception that there's only so much help that's available, so I'm not going to ask for any. I'm going to leave it for the other people in this town to ask for that help. So one of the financial counselling roles is to really sit down with people and say, what exactly is happening for you in your life? Let's talk about all of it. Let's talk about you and your partner and your kids and your neighbours. Are you getting the support that you need to see that your needs are met, or are you just helping everybody else? A big part of it is making sure that people are aware of the supports that are out there in the community for them. A lot of people don't realise that you can get help with paying an energy bill. You can get an EPA voucher to help you pay any of your energy bills. They might not understand their phone plans. A lot of people tell me that no one understands their phone plans, and I tend to agree. So maybe they need to be on a cheaper phone plan, and that might make a big difference to their lives. Maybe they think they can't get on a cheaper phone plan because they're in a contract. Well, my role might be to help them get out of that contract, if it suits them to do so. A lot of people just accept that if the bank tells them that they have to pay this debt at this amount of interest and it's going to take them 7 years to pay it, they just accept that that's what they're going to have to do, and they don't realise that they can negotiate that. And that can happen with any debt, with any institution, whether it's an electricity bill, a personal loan or a fine. Like the client who came to me because she was homeless after her home had flooded, living in someone else's lounge, and was worried about a credit card bill. And on top of all the other problems that she had, she was continuing to pay her credit card. The bank waived that debt immediately. They weren't going to continue to try and have someone who was homeless as a result of flooding continuing to pay a debt to them. So they waived it.
Most recently in the floods, there's been the Red Cross, the Salvation Army, other different charities handing out large sums of money to people who have experienced these disasters. And people tend to do that. They say, I've got this debt, or I've got all these bills, and I've now got $3,000. I'm going to pay all those things off.
Yep.
Is that what they should be doing, Sharon?
I don't think so. No, not at all. That money has been given to them to help them rebuild their lives and to get the basic things that they've lost. So other debt that they have, that should be dealt with in a very different way. And generally, if people are upfront about that with the bank or whoever they owe the money to, or if they get the help of a financial counsellor, then they may be able to get that debt waived and keep the money that's been given to them from the charity to mend their lives.
Financial counsellors are amazing to have on your side. They're people that we work with all the time that really complement the work that we do.
Sometimes a solicitor might refer a client to me and they might ask me to do a statement of financial position for the client because they're going to talk to the creditor themselves. So I might be able to assist a bit more by actually doing that step for the solicitor too and talking with the creditor.
So if I suspect someone is in financial hardship, there's a lot of questions that I tend to ask people, but you have to be mindful in how you do it because for some people talking about money and finances doesn't come naturally, and it might not be something that they're used to talking about or discussing openly. So you might start off with some questions about what are they currently paying? Are they having difficulty meeting their payments? Is their budget in the red? Is there a deficit?
Just ask them straight up, do you have any other debts to anyone? Is there anything else that you're worried about financially in your life? What are you planning on using the money for that you've just been granted? Is there any other financial issues that you've got that you want to talk about?
If the client then says back, actually, yeah, I've got a phone bill that's due, and I mean, I haven't paid for the daycare, and I don't have any food in the fridge. I've got, I don't know, how are you going to help with that?
Well, I think that's when you do refer them to a financial counsellor and say, I'm pretty sure that our financial counsellor would be able to help you with some of those debts, if not all of them. They may have some ideas about how you can manage them better and what sort of assistance is out there for you at the moment. Would be worth sitting and talking with a financial counsellor about those things. It's really about making sure that people are aware that financial counselling is a free service that's available to everyone. And it doesn't matter how much money you earn or don't earn, or how much debt you've got, or what sort of problems you're in. A financial counsellor can always talk to you about how to improve your situation.
And at the moment, our disaster response legal service team is very lucky because we have you. But moving into the future, we may not have a financial counsellor in the team. So if we don't have a financial counsellor, where can we refer people to? So
the Financial Counselling Association of New South Wales has a website. And you can go onto that website and put your postcode in, and it'll show you all the financial counsellors in your area. And it should have their phone numbers and contact details. Or you can approach any of the major charities like St Vincent de Paul or Salvation Army. They all employ financial counsellors, and they should be able to help you by putting you in touch with a financial counsellor in your area.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me, Sharon.
It's been my pleasure, Jess.